got a nice deep copper red ale. It has a tangy red fruit flavour with nutty toffee overtones. Okay, and obviously a lot of those colours of the Welsh flag of the red dragon. So let's see what it tastes like.
I can picture that taste. That ruby red autumn ale sort of thing. I can picture that taste immediately.
Totally.
Yeah, you've landed on it there. You've landed on it. That is a nice summery ale. That is.
Oh.
It has got a bit of a taste afterwards with it. I'd expect that's probably that tang kicking in, but that's a nice beer.
What are we talking percentage?
Percentage, we have got a 4.2. So, fairly middle of the road for your ales, I suppose, the high street variety. But I'm pleased with it. I'd certainly get that in the pub.
Nice.
Because I struggle to get a good Welsh lager up here, guys.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's that beer exactly what you've just showed me there. If I was in Wales and I was in a pub and I saw something with two dragons on it, I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm going to buy that one.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going.
Yeah,
they've got the marketing down.
100%. Yeah,
there we go. We've got some Gaelic script. Yeah, Felin foil. There we go. I probably butchered that. My Welsh is appalling. So
what's that? What does that mean?
I think that's the place, the oldest brewery in Wales.
Right.
Because the F's are V's up here. So, single F's are V's. So there we go. Felin foil.
Terrific.
Right.
Wow, there we go.
Apologies for any Welsh native listeners. Mae'n ddrwg gen I, dwi'n dysgu Cymraeg yn Saesneg, ysgwelwch yn dda.
All right.
They'll get that.
I hope that's not like extremely offensive.
Yeah, am I going to have to censor? Am I going to have to get Terry, the producer, to censor that out?
That's it. Eric does not represent the Blokes podcast in any way.
Oh dear! Terrific. Now we've got an extra drink in our hands.
Shall we continue with the list?
Okie. So
we're on number 3 now, right?
Yeah, on to number 3.
Fantastic.
So, if you're a film producer, this next category you're going to love because it's going to be the easiest job for you to do. It's the best Vietnam War film.
Okay.
The reason why I get onto this and I like Vietnam War films so much is because the soundtracks.
Yeah.
You think the Vietnam War, US involvement in the main was between 1965 and 1972-73. And you think how many great bands, guys.
Yeah.
And the change in music between 65 and 73. It is going to be a cracker to listen to, if nothing else.
I immediately think Fortune Son, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Mm-hmm. That's the only song you can blare out of a chopper as you are descending upon Vietnam.
That's it. Exactly. And it's for that reason that I've chosen the film Platoon, because music plays a really good role in that film. The soundtrack, it's got sort of your classic Americana, southern sort of country and western tunes in there, with some more of the, shall we say, rebel soldiers who are, for want of a better phrase, rednecks. And then you've also got a lot of soul music. You've got a lot of Motown for soldiers who were black and minority ethnics who were recruited very heavily in the Vietnam War. Mm. Now, also as well as that, you've got your classics in there. You've got your Jefferson Airplane. Yeah. So it makes it a great listen. The story is fantastic. It's about a young draftee who dropped out of university. So he had an exemption and he dropped out because he thought university was a waste of time. And he goes off, volunteers for the infantry and fights in the Vietnam War. And it's about his tour of duty, his 1-year tour of duty in Vietnam and how it changes him and all of the horrid things he has to see and all of the terrible things people are doing in that war. And the reason why it's so interesting as well as the soundtrack is because Oliver Stone, the guy who made the film, served in Vietnam. So a lot of the storylines, a lot of the stuff that's going on is based off veteran accounts. So it's a great soundtrack. It's got some great cast in there. It's got Charlie Sheen. It's got Willem Dafoe. It's got Tom Berenger. It's also got real stories in there. So you know what you're watching is spot on. Right. So it's a tough watch. It's accurate. It's probably not one to watch with the squeamish amongst you. You know, in Vietnam War, there were a lot of war crimes. That was well documented after the war. And obviously, veteran accounts detail that. And Platoon details veteran accounts. So it's got an age rating for a reason, but it is a very good film with almost a documentary style to it.
Right. Wow.
So yeah,
I've seen Platoon, and it's been a good few years now. But it really stirs up a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, doesn't it? It's like on one hand you've got a pre-meltdown Sheen just being a badass and the soundtrack being really cool. So one minute you think, oh, this is great, this is a throwaway action film, whatever, and then there are, you know, like you say, horrific things going on in the next moment, and then it really brings you back down to earth, thinking, God, this isn't a game, this isn't a film, even though it's a film. It's like in the real event wasn't the film. It's like people died, and it's
this is
horrible
it.
stuff. You know, and that's a difficult balance to strike, isn't it? You know, to come out of the cinema or after watching the Blu-ray or whatever and thinking, God, that was it's just epic, great choice.
I mean, another thing about it is, I think it was produced in the late 80s. Something's telling me 87. That war scarred America. You know, if you say we don't want to get into another Vietnam, everyone knows in America what that means. How much it tore up America, it divided the nation on the war. They had thousands of veterans coming home after the war with post-traumatic stress disorder who, you know, some people may believe they were not given a good deal. And that was made in 1987, so that opened up a lot of scars, opened up old wounds, I should say, because the only real major Vietnam War film before that was Apocalypse Now, which is a good Vietnam film, but it's a Kubrick. And a Kubrick film is a tough watch. It's long, it's edgy, it's very arty, and in my opinion, there are better ones to watch if you only have one Vietnam War film to watch. The fact that it's based on veterans' accounts, for me, makes it, because that's them telling their story.
Sure.
Great.
So there we go.
Great.
That's one to watch,
choice,
boys.
dude. Love it.
Okay.
So if we were on Channel 4 right now, we'd be going to an ad break, and there'd be loads of terrible adverts.
It would be. This is where you get the donation adverts in there, the £2 a month, the sort of, you know, the ones.
And then once Channel 4 came back, we'd then reiterate everything that we just talked about for the past half an hour. There'd be no new material for another half an hour.
Okay.
Well, they just kill time. But taking us to number 4.
Yeah, number 4. So we're moving in to the final frontier now, guys. You'll be glad to know that the next one I have picked is the Sunday afternoon classic. Okay? When it came to making war films, the 60s and early 70s was a golden time, because there hadn't been, you know, tuning in with the Vietnam War, there hadn't been what was known as moral disarmament. All the people watching war films had served in the war, or wars after it, or been in the army. A lot of people making the films had been in the war. So it was a real popular genre. So, you know, Sunday afternoons would be classic war film time. And one for the Sunday afternoon is The Great Escape.
Yes, Ultimate Sunday. I think I watched that last Sunday.
There you go.
And I shall be watching it again next Sunday. Yeah, because that is the greatest Sunday war film.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There you go.
I mean, the soundtrack, the theme tune off the bat, the actors, Steve McQueen. I don't know the names of the other ones, but the famous guys that are in it. It's fantastic.
You've got Dickie Attenborough, you've got James
Attenborough.
Coburn. You've got who else? You've got the guy who was in The Professionals, the older guy in that.
The blind guy who's pretending he can see.
Yeah, there you go. It is a great film in that respect. And it's also a very true story as well. It hits the accuracy nail on the head. So it's certainly one to watch and learn from. It is a tough one in the sense that it is a long film. You know, it's your Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Okay. But it's
Zulu-esque.
Yeah. I think you're near enough at 3 hours, which is a big ask. So it's maybe one for a few beers with the boys. You know, you get to see Steve McQueen revving up a BMW R75, which is a great bike. I've been on one of those. They're flipping brilliant. And it's a classic. You know, if you say, have you seen The Great Escape? Everyone's going to go, oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
It's great. So
it's also a classic, like watch with your dad or your uncle or your granddad.
Yeah,
or it's one of those.
If you want to spend a bit of positive time with your father-in-law or the male companions, not always the male companions, but traditionally, you know, your Sunday afternoon male companions, this is a good film. The story behind it is it was a POW camp in what is now Poland. It was Silesia, which is eastern Germany, where they sent all of the toughest, baddest of the bad escapees in all of Germany. And they kept them in there, and they said, no, we're going to make an escape. And the Germans had said to them, if you do this again, you're in trouble. And they make a great escape. I think it was about 80 POWs made an escape. And you think how many Germans have got to then chase down all these 80 POWs making a run for it? You know, that's a big job for them. So they would do the Allies, the escapees, were doing a great job there. The difficulty was a lot of them got shot at the end of it because they had said no more of this. They were handed over to the certain elements of the SS, the Gestapo and the SD, and they were shot. So there is a serious aspect to it, but it is a great film to watch, and it's got a fantastic soundtrack.
100%.
So there you go.
The one thing I thought that was so funny when I watched it recently was the fact that they were so open about the fact that they were going to escape. And they had an escape committee, and the leader of the escape committee, and he was sort of like he was like a leader that the Germans would converse with. They'd be like, get the leader of the escape committee, and I want a word with him, you know. And they were like, yeah, we're going to escape. Like, and the Germans were like, yeah, we know you have to, you know, and it was their duty to escape.
Yeah,
you know, and it was obvious. And that's brilliant, and it was so gentlemanly. I know this might have been the way the film portrayed it, but it seemed very gentlemanly. Do you know what I mean? They were all pretending to be in the choir or do their little garden or whatever, while some guy was like chipping away the foundations beneath. It's such a good film, and those classic Hollywood little nods, like Steve McQueen throwing his baseball against the wall.
And wearing his like pilot jacket, his like sheepskin lined jacket.
So good.
It's a great film. I mean, one of my friends, he was able to attend a reenactment of The Great Escape, and they had to go from the camp where it is in Poland, and it was very condensed. They had to get from the camp to like a local station where the Germans were patrolling. It was German reenactors over in Poland, and then they had to make their way from the train station to another town on a train, and if they managed to get to that other town, they were then deemed as having made a home run, i.e. made it back to Blighty or made it to Switzerland or what have you. And I said to my mate, I wrote him out a card, and I speak German, and it said, I apologise, my friend and I are deaf. We are going to the hospital in this town. Right. Because they couldn't speak a word of German. So all they had to do was just go, here's the card. And the Germans would say, well, clearly, they've got this card that says I'm deaf in good German. They must be going to the hospispital.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. I didn't give them any hearing aids, sadly. But
So once your mate gave this card to the Gestapo, did the Gestapo say, in German, of course, make your way to the hospital, and then in English, good luck?
He may have done. I don't think he heard it.
And then your deaf mate went, thank you very much.
Yeah. Done! That was it. Dickie Attenborough had to push him out of the way and run down the street, and man, there you go. So it's a fantastic film, worth a watch, worth an investment of a Sunday. Honourable mentions, Zulu, a classic. That's, I mean, you may not see it on the TV anymore, I'm afraid, guys, because it was made at a time when, and it's portraying when Britain was going out and conquering the empire. So let's make no bones about that. They were colonising things, but again, it's a fantastic film about some real heroic acts. So that one's a good watch as well. And then the final film we're going on to, charge your glasses, gentlemen, for the best war film with a message.
Oh,
okay.
Drum roll. Okay, here we go.
Now, like all great countdowns, I'm afraid I'm going to have to end with Saving Private Ryan.
Wow.